What we're going to look at now are the actual real numbers of what people get paid in these industries. We're going to look at the investment bank first. But we're also going to focus on some of the things that you wouldn't expect occur if you haven't worked for one of these companies before. Because there's a lot of things that you get given in your contracts which you don't know occurs at this time. But you're applying for it. And you need to know what you're applying for. These are the things that they'll never tell you. So first things first, what are you all really applying for? The job that you're applying for is the financial analyst at the investment bank. There'll be 10,000 of you applying for each trading position. 15 years ago, the ratio was about 2 to 3,000 to 1. So let's get this out of the way first. Why has the ratio gone up? We've gone over one of the reasons why. Less jobs available. If everything's down 80%, the number of humans on the desk is down 80%. There's less jobs available. But there's another reason why. Can anyone guess? That's to do with the demand side of the labor market. What about the supply side? Well, there's more people today at university than ever before. And all of you have just been picking up the newspaper for the last 4 or 5 years, reading how much traders are making in the city out of the crisis. So naturally, you all want to work in the city. And all these banks, you haven't been able to pick up a newspaper for a week without a bank being on the front. And they've become household names. So now your parents have heard of them. So I was quite surprised earlier, because we've been on the university tour now for 3 weeks. When I asked why is everybody applying to investment banks, nobody says the prestige. That's been one that's come up a lot. The prestige of working for the name and having it on your business card and having the title. But let's see what it really means, because I consider a business card and what you put in the ATM. How much do you actually make? Well, 10,000 of you are applying for that. You're applying for a basic salary of £40,000. Even 10 years ago, the basic salary for an FA was 60. So in real terms, it would be down even if you're getting paid 60. It's down to 40. And you'll be lucky to get a bonus of 5 to 10K. And by the way, these numbers are not made up. These have come 4 weeks ago, directly from 3 managing directors at 3 of the top investment banks, who I know. And we had the conversations, over a mobile phone, not on the recorded landline. So off the record, and they told me what they're paying their staff this year at every level. That's what a financial analyst gets paid. 40 plus a bonus of 5 to 10. We'll come back to that in a second. I want you to focus on the word in brackets next to financial analyst. Contractor. 10,000 of you are not applying for a full-time job. It's a part-time contract. So if you're the guy that gets the contract, it gets sent to you in the post. If you're that one out of the 10,000, it'll get sent to you in the post. On the first couple of pages, it'll say this contract expires in 2 years. You've got a 2-year contract. You're not working for the company full-time. So you're a 2-year contractor on 40K plus 5 to 10K bonus. That's one of the things they don't tell you. So you'll be put through an interview process of 20, 30, 40 interviews, and then you'll feel really lucky to get the contract at the end, and you'll just sign it. But the reality is it's a 2-year contract. Let's go back to the numbers. So a gross salary of 50K. Can you live in central London on a gross salary of 50K? Because you will have to live in central London, by the way, because you've got to be in the office at 6. So try commuting from outside London to get in for 6. You haven't got a chance. So you have to live in central London. Can you live in central London on 50K? Who says yes? Okay. We'll come back to that in a second.
It's not really 50K, because after tax you're probably on what, 35?
Yeah, we're going to come back to that as well. We'll look at the gross numbers first. So gross salary of 50K. Can you actually live in central London? So one person says yes if you're living with your parents. Who says no? Who doesn't know? Okay, the answer is absolutely no. You can't. You'll be living month to month. Every month you put your card in the machine, it'll say 0 or have a negative in front of it. And the negative will just get worse over the 2 years. You can't live on that money in central London. You'll live an awful life. Awful life. If you go to an investment bank now and get paid that as a financial analyst contractor, yeah, you're either after 2 years going to be more in debt than you were at university, or if you're living off your parents, they're sponsoring your hobby job. It's the truth. You can't live on that money. There's no doubt about it, you'll be flat sharing. So it'll be like you haven't even left university. You won't get richer. You'll probably end up poorer. 20% of the people who get rinsed through the financial analyst program end up becoming associates. What happens at the associate stage? You get sent another contract. Now you've got a full-time contract. So you'll sign your full-time contract. Once you sign it, your salary goes up. So you get offered the promotion. So your salary will go up to 80K basic, 50 to 100K bonus. However, this is where the stock portion of your bonus kicks in. So you'll get around 15-20% of your bonus given to you in the company's stock. And you'll be on a lockup. This is something else that they don't tell you. You'll be on what's called a lockup. So whatever you get paid in year 3, typically you can't sell it for 5 years. You can't sell it till year 8. Whatever you get paid in year 4, you can't sell it till year 9. Whatever you get paid in year 5, you can't sell it till year 10. If you resign, you give it all up. So you're locked in. You're locked up and you're in prison. That's why it's called a lockup. Pretty obvious. You'll spend 3 to 5 years as an associate, 3 if you're lucky. And then you'll get to vice president, executive director level, where you'll go to 200K basic and bonus of about 125K. The portion that you get paid in your bonus in stock goes up the more senior you are. So you get more locked in. If you resign, you give it all up. The vast majority of people who actually end up getting to that stage spend the rest of their careers at that level. Only a small minority get to junior MD or senior MD. Let's go back to associate. So you've now spent 2-3 years as a financial analyst contractor. You've been promoted. Can you live on 150, 175k in central London? Who says yes? Yeah, you can, but you'll still live a very basic life. What about if we get to the vice president, executive director? So 325k. 325k, a lot of money? Can you live in central London on that? You can, but you'll still live a very basic life. I'll be showing you why. Junior managing directors. You'll be running a business if you get to this level within the bank. I'm reporting to a senior MD. So you've been about 300k basic, 200k bonus. The stock portion goes up to at least 25%, 5-year lockup, resignation penalty again. So £500,000. If you get all the way to the top, senior managing director, £500,000 basic, £1 million bonus. The probability of you getting there is close to 0. Because go right back to the beginning, there's 10,000 of you applying for one trading position. So the probability of you getting to VP, executive director, is still very, very low. To MD, it's almost nothing. So some interesting things there that you probably didn't understand or didn't know about that goes on in your contracts and how the industry works as you progress. But we talked about gross numbers just there. This gentleman wants to talk about the net numbers. So what do you get paid actually after tax? Because those numbers don't mean anything. What's meaningful is what ends up in your pocket. And if you're in the United States, you'll pay government and local tax. In the UK, you're going to pay your income tax, government tax, and you'll pay your national insurance contributions. It doesn't matter what it's called. If the government takes it, it's a tax. So if you receive your pay slip and it says, as the company, we wanted to pay this person £300,000, but we have to pay him 150, and 150 goes to the government. What ends up in your pocket is 150. If the government's taken it, it doesn't matter what it's called. It's a tax. This is if you get to VP level. So this will be after 6 to 8 years. Your basic of 200 becomes 100, £8,300 a month. Your bonus, 20% of it, goes on stock that you don't get and you can't sell for 5 years. And you might not ever get it, because if you resign or you're fired for gross misconduct, you'll never get it. So you can't consider it real wealth until you've actually got it. Oh, the other thing that might happen is the stock might go to 0. So in 2007, beginning of the year, managing directors at Bear Stearns were worth $25 million on paper. By the middle of the year, they were worth nothing. So you can't really count it as real wealth until you get it. So after the 20%'s gone, after tax, what do you end up with in your bank account at the end of the year? 50k. So you've got £8,300 a month cash flow, and at the end of the year, you get a deposit of 50k into your bank account. Can you live on that money in central London? Well, you could, but you'd live a basic life. That's my point. The perception of what people get paid and what ends up in their pocket is totally misguided. You need to understand these numbers. If you're going to give up the best years of your life, your 20s, to get up in the dark and go home in the dark and sit all day at a computer staring at algorithms for 10 years, you need to understand what you're going to be compensated to do that. That's your compensation after 6 to 8 years. That's what guys at investment banks get paid now at VP and ED level. If you lived a very basic life, £8,300 a month, you might save £1,000 a month. At the end of the year, you'd get 50 grand. You'd have saved 62. You might be able to buy a new BMW. Treat yourself. You won't get much opportunity to drive it because you'll be at the desk 70 hours a week, Monday to Friday. Let's go through the $1 billion hedge fund example that we looked at earlier. So just to refresh the memory, the $1 billion slide. This is how it works typically at a $1 billion hedge fund. You go in at the lowest level as a junior portfolio analyst. You're still a contractor. You can't get round that usually. Basic salary of 100. And you'll be that part-time contractor for 1 to 2 years. How many applications do you think there'll be for every junior portfolio analyst in the hedge fund industry? A contractor, as in the assistant to all the analysts and the portfolio managers. What do you think the ratio is? Higher than investment banks or lower? Well, judging by the sample of this room, yes. It's much lower. You're probably looking at 100 to 200 applications because no one's ever heard of them. They're not in the media. They don't advertise themselves. Your parents have not heard of them, so they're not impressed by them. And they're not in structural decline. There's more money under management in the hedge fund industry than any moment in history in all time. So it's a different industry than investment banking. Stay there for 1 or 2 years, junior portfolio manager. 200K basic, 250K bonus. You'll probably get given some stock in the hedge fund structure. It'll be on a lockup, but it won't be a standardized term right across the industry. It will vary massively dependent on the fund that you go to. You'll have to reinvest a portion of your bonus back into the strategy, back into the fund. At this level, probably around 25%. You'll spend 3 to 5 years as a junior portfolio manager. If you make it to senior portfolio manager, £500,000 basic, £2 million plus bonus. You'll have to be reinvesting at least half that back into the fund. If you actually run the hedge fund, you're the principal. Either the guy who set it up or the guy who takes it over. You're limited to your assets under management. So the sky is not the limit. You pay yourself what you want. So what have we learned here? Compensation metrics for professional traders at investment banks and hedge funds. This is the reality of it, and you just have to deal with the reality of the market that you've inherited. If you go to an investment bank these days, you're probably going to end up working 6 to 8 years before you start receiving bonuses where you get a net 50K into your bank account at the end of the year. And that's due to structural decline and a massive increase in the supply of labor. also due to regulation, but that's part of the structural decline. That's even if you make it to VP, executive director level. So what you'll end up actually doing is spending those 6 or 8 years, 60, 70 hours a week, kissing your boss's ass. Because the only way to get a pay increase is to kiss their ass so you get promoted and go into the next pay grade. You're on a corporate ladder. Your bonuses are not variable. They're fixed these days. So that's what you're applying for in terms of compensation. But there's other consequences. Your training and trading education at an investment bank will be substandard, and it'll be well below your expectations. Because what's left is the dead weight. It's all the crap from the last business cycle that can't leave. They're all locked in. They can't get out, and they're all living month to month. And it's very obvious that hedge funds, from looking at that, offer more career upside and flexibility if you want to become a professional trader. The talented professionals are sending you the very strong message, because they've left the investment banking side, that you have to trade with your own money. Or you have to go to a hedge fund. It's the same thing, because they're trading with their own money in the hedge fund. All we've looked at so far is the gross number and then the net number after tax. What we're going to do now is have a look at the opportunity cost and the real numbers after inflation of a 10-year career.